All right, welcome to another episode of the Scarlet Faithful podcast, coming to you Sunday night. Listening, hopefully, this to Sunday night or Monday morning to start your work week. Just a couple hours after it was announced that Rutgers will play in the Pinstripe Bowl against Miami, former Big East foe. Plenty of storylines in this matchup. Wanted to just kind of cover at a glance, Miami as a whole, cover some of the storylines and just kind of catch up on Rutgers football a little bit. We'll have plenty of coverage throughout the month leading up to the game. The game is on Thursday, December 28th at Yankee Stadium, 2:15 Eastern Time, airing live on ESPN. So we'll have plenty of coverage leading up to that. But just in terms of kind of initial thoughts, I mean, Miami's a team that underachieved this year. They're 7-5. Talent-wise, they're better than that. Pro Football Focus, in terms of team grades, Miami is actually 14th, tied with Washington, who's undefeated in the college football playoff. So that just tells you the talent they have on that team. Now, certainly a factor is that their quarterback has declared for the transfer portal, which is, just kind of makes the whole bowl season just very unpredictable and also a little wonky. The fact that rosters are, starting to turn over in the postseason. But Tyler Van Dyke, he started 11 games this season. He started off and on the last 3 years. And their offense was good. They averaged over 30 points a game. He had 19 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, completed 66% of his passes, 2,700 yards. So they have very little experience behind him. Their backups are Emory Williams, who's a true freshman. He threw a little bit this year, 3 touchdowns, was in 5 games, had 470 yards. And then they have a guy, Ja'Cory Brown, former 4-star, who hasn't played at all. So that certainly throws a big wrinkle and makes this a little bit more winnable. But, Miami does have a very good defense. They're very good against the run. And like I said, talent-wise, I mean, Miami has a more talented roster, but, there's still a lot of time to figure out, who else is transferring, who else might, declare for the NFL draft and sit out. So there's a lot of variables there. We know Rutgers has lost a few players in the portal, notably, Evan Simon, backup quarterback, Rashad Rochelle's gone. Nothing too crazy, but depth is going to be tested for sure. Got some good news that Holland Pierce is going to be back. Tyreen Powell's going to be back. Powell's obviously not going to be available for this game. Pierce should be, and is. So, again, it's going to be a few weeks out. A lot can happen with the rosters. Kyle Monungai, Max Melton, those are 2 names that have been floated around as potential, entries into the NFL draft. And will they play? Will they not? We know Rutgers likes to run. We know Monungai, Big Ten rushing leader. Miami is a stout run defense. So if he does not play, it's going to be an ugly game. It's in Yankee Stadium, which is not an ideal football field whatsoever. Third time Rutgers is going to play at the Pinstripe Bowl. Iowa State 2011. I was at that game. That was Schiano's last game as Rutgers head coach in his first tenure. Rutgers won that 27-13. And then 2 years later, with Kyle Flood, they lost to Notre Dame. So a little bit, ironic that Schiano goes back to the Pinstripe. Of course, storylines. He was the DC at Miami long time ago, 99-2000. Cristobal was on his staff at Rutgers the first 3 years. And really the most juicy storyline is that Cristobal, it's a big what if in Rutgers history, is that he could have replaced Schiano when he left for Tampa Bay and turned down the job. And if Tim Pernetti had hired Mario Cristobal, where would this program be? Would Schiano even be back? Would Cristobal still be the head coach? He ultimately was at, FIU, stayed there, then ended up at Oregon. Now he's been at Miami. Has had an up and down coaching career, but I think he's a really good coach. And, this year was weird for them. They're 7-5. They had some good wins. They beat Texas A&M, who was, not great, but ranked at the time early in the year. They beat them 48-33. Only like-for-like opponent these 2 teams have played is Temple. Miami blew them out 41-7. They were 4-0, and then they had that awful loss to Georgia Tech where they did not take a knee and they fumbled, and Georgia Tech ultimately won. Cristobal got skewered for that, rightfully so. And their season kind of went a little AWOL after that. They lost to North Carolina the next week. They did beat Clemson in double overtime. They beat a not very good Virginia team in overtime, lost to NC State. But then they lost at Florida State by just a touchdown and then lost to Louisville by a touchdown. Two very good teams. So Florida State got hosed, by the way, in my opinion, by not making the college football playoff. Whether you think they're one of the top 4 teams or not, due to their quarterback situation, I mean, they did everything you could ask. And Louisville is a tremendous offense, and their defense just absolutely shut them down last night. Their strength of schedule was, I believe, number 2 of the teams considered. So it's a bad look. I think it just kind of, bowl season's kind of, unfortunately, it's just there's a lot of factors that make it hard to take it too serious. And then when the college football playoff is compromised like that with that type of decision, it's pretty poor. Too bad the playoff wasn't expanded for this season. Would have solved a lot of problems, but it certainly points to the fact that it's the right decision moving forward. But very unfortunate. But the fact is, and these 2 games, by the way, I mean, they lost in Tallahassee. That was November 11th. They lost to Louisville November 18th. And then they blew out Boston College. So, listen, this Miami team is good. They've underperformed, and that's on Cristobal. Like I said, I still think he's a good coach. I wish he took that job instead of Kyle Flood. And yes, Kyle Flood is now coaching in the college football playoff as offensive coordinator for Texas. It's a bizarro world. I would have liked to see that alternate Back to the Future timeline to see where things would be differently. But yeah, and Rutgers has never beaten Miami. For those fans that remember, that one year early in Schiano's tenure, Miami was number 1. And Rutgers was leading going into the 4th quarter. There were some questionable calls in that 4th quarter, but ultimately Miami blew them out. It was 17-14 going into the 4th quarter. Miami won 42-17. It was in Piscataway, but a real chance to finally beat Miami. Certainly a different situation, but Rutgers has now faced 3 former Big East foes in the last 3 seasons in Syracuse, Boston College, and Virginia Tech, and they beat them all. And now you have a chance to get number 4 against Miami. You have a chance to get the first winning season in 9 years. This is certainly a lot of motivation going into this game. Again, a lot of unknown variables going into this game that we're not going to know for a little while. I think that it's going to be how much development can Rutgers have? What's the offense going to look like? Gavin Wimsatt, can he take a step forward? Can this team get healthy? How much does the defense stick together just in terms of who returns, who's going to play, and who's healthy? So, I like Jay Patel in this game. He's had a tremendous year. I think he's going to play a factor, but it's going to be a mostly Rutgers crowd. I can't see the retired New Yorkers, New Jerseyans down in Miami getting too excited. Maybe with the holidays, they'll be up for the holidays and we'll go to that game. But, it should be a heavy pro Rutgers crowd. Will it matter? I don't know. The layout, Yankee Stadium is kind of weird. But this is an opportunity. It's an opportunity for them to end the season on a high note. It's their opportunity to beat a notable program. Certainly not in the best of days for Miami. But like I said, this team has a ton of talent. And they graded out really high this year. Rutgers, by the way, 48th in terms of team grades, tied for 48th with who they're tied with, TCU and West Virginia at 48th. And like I said, Miami tied with Washington. So it's going to be a tall task, but plenty of preparation time. It's going to be great for the program to have this developmental time. I talked about last week just how this is really Schiano's first time in terms of juggling the postseason and the offseason all at once. He talked about in his press comments, which I have up on my YouTube channel. Check it out. It's in my name, and also if you search the Scarlet Faithful, how they're pursuing players in every position. including quarterback, or they evaluate. We'll see what they do. But how are they going to pursue players in the portal while also getting their team motivated to play in this game? You already have a few guys announcing. I think it's up to 5 now. Max Patterson, the receiver, announced recently. It's a balancing act. It's going to be really interesting. I think, if you look at Miami versus Rutgers, you would say Rutgers has a chance to be the more motivated team. They have more to gain in this game than Miami does. So that's a plus. I like that part of it. And, Schiano, listen, he's been a very good coach when he has that much time to prepare. He's done very well in his career when either the opening game, and since his second tenure, opening game, coming off bye weeks, he knows how to prepare a team, and they're going to be prepared. Who's going to be out there, how deep they're going to be, how much depth they're going to have, how many newcomers or younger players are going to get more run in this game, all remains to be seen. Weather, of course, is going to be a factor. So it's going to be interesting. It's intriguing. It's a compelling matchup. Certainly one of the harder ones they could have had. Georgia Tech or Boston College would have been a better matchup in terms of personnel, in terms of style, but did not happen. The drama with the ACC today led the matchup not being announced till about 6 p.m. right before Schiano's press conference was at 6:30. We're talking right now around 8:30. You could, like I said, I have the presser out there on my YouTube. Check it out. But plenty more to come in this game leading up to it. But it's going to be ugly. It's not going to be a high-powered game. This is a game that Rutgers could win. It's going to come down to how well can the Rutgers defense bounce back and what can the offense do. And, of course, special teams will be a variable X factor in this game. I have just kind of a snapshot of what Miami is right now. But I think their quarterback situation being so wide open certainly levels this matchup out quite a bit in terms of what it could have been versus if Van Dyke had stayed. They certainly would have been, I think, probably double-digit favorite. I don't think they will be now. I think Miami will be favorite, probably, I don't know, around a touchdown, maybe a little bit more. I don't even know if spreads are out already. Possibly they are. Like I said, I'm just trying to catch up here as a busy weekend. But they also, were balanced offensively. They can run the ball. So they do commit a lot of penalties, which is certainly something that could be a factor in this game, especially after having that big of a layoff. But Rutgers is going to have to be sharper than they've been. So excited that Rutgers has a bowl game. I know some people are bummed about it being the Pinstripe Bowl, but hey, it's local. It's in the holidays. It's a winnable game. I think that, there's plenty of reasons to be excited about this. And, it's a chance for Rutgers to cap off a winning season. It'd be very positive for perception, for recruiting, all that. Let's go get a win. Thanks for listening and watching the Scarlet Faithful podcast. Once again, I'll have plenty throughout the next few weeks, and plenty of hoops coverage as well. The net rankings come out on Monday, and I'll have a podcast episode dedicated to that, just talking about Rutgers men's basketball, where they land in the net rankings, what the upcoming schedule looks like, and plenty more. So talk to you then.